The date no longer means what it used to. Out here, past the orbital stations, past the dead satellites drifting in their own slow decay, time moves differently. A second out here is not the same second you experience on Earth. Einstein knew this. Most people on Earth have forgotten it, or perhaps they never truly understood it to begin with. I have been watching your planet for a long time now. From this distance, the cities look like circuits, like the inside of a machine that never sleeps. Millions of lights, millions of decisions, millions of tiny trajectories, all bending, curving, being pulled downward by something invisible and relentless gravity, not just the physical kind, the other kind, the kind that doesn't grab your body, the kind that grabs your future. I have watched people on Earth spend the most valuable decades of their lives not understanding that they are in a gravitational field. Not understanding that every year they drift, every year they delay, the escape becomes exponentially more expensive. This is not a video about money. This is a video about time, about the mathematics of a life, about the quiet, invisible tragedy of realizing too late that you were in the wrong orbit all along. Sit with me for a moment. Let me show you what I see from up here. There is a moment in every rocket's journey that looks like success but isn't. It is the moment of maximum noise, maximum fire, maximum spectacle. The crowd watches from below. The ground shakes. The sky fills with smoke and light and the deafening roar of something moving fast. Something that looks, from the outside, like it is going somewhere extraordinary. But a rocket that burns all its fuel in the first 60 seconds never reaches orbit. It rises, dramatically, beautifully, and then it falls. I watched a man on Earth once. I'll call him Marcus. Marcus was 23 years old. He had just landed his first real job, a salary that felt to him like a declaration of arrival. Not enormous by any standard, but enough. Enough to feel the first real pulse of financial momentum beneath his feet. And in that moment, that precise, delicate, irreplaceable moment, Marcus made a decision. He bought a car, not a car he needed. A car he deserved. That was the word he used, deserved. A German-engineered status signal with monthly payments that consumed 40% of his take-home income. Black, lowered. The kind of car that turns heads at traffic lights. And heads did turn, his colleagues noticed. His friends noticed. His social media feed became an altar to the machine. Likes accumulated. Comments poured in. For approximately 72 hours, Marcus felt the specific warmth of other people's approval radiating toward him like sunlight. Here is what nobody tells you about that warmth. It is not sunlight. It is the light from a star that died 1,000 years ago. By the time it reaches you, the source is already gone. The people who liked his photo moved on within seconds. They were not thinking about Marcus or his car. They were already scrolling, already consuming, already performing their own version of the same theater. But Marcus's monthly payment remained. Month 1, 2, month 3. The payments didn't move. The depreciation did. Every 30 days, the car was worth less. Every 30 days, Marcus was worth less, not as a human being, but as a financial entity traveling through time toward a future version of himself who would need resources he was currently burning. Here is the number nobody showed Marcus at the dealership. At 23, a single dollar invested in a broad market index fund, left untouched, becomes, on average, approximately $47 by the time Marcus reaches 65. Not because of magic, because of mathematics, because of the silent, mechanical, ruthless power of compound interest operating across 4 decades of time. Marcus didn't invest $1. He committed to paying, over the full loan term, including interest, roughly $34,000 for a vehicle that would be worth approximately $9,000 by the time the loan was paid off. The real cost of Marcus's car was not $34,000. The real cost, measured in the only currency that matters, future purchasing power at 65, was closer to $1,600,000. He did not buy a car, he bought a costume, and he paid for it with the most expensive material in the known universe, time. From up here, I can see patterns that are invisible to people inside them. There is a phenomenon in orbital mechanics called the gravity well. The closer you are to a massive object, the more energy it takes to escape its pull. The further you drift inward toward the center, the more escape velocity you need. At a certain point, the energy required to escape exceeds any energy you can generate. This is a perfect description of lifestyle inflation. It doesn't happen suddenly. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides to destroy their financial future. It happens in millimeters, in small, reasonable-seeming increments, each one individually justifiable, collectively catastrophic. Marcus got the car. Then the apartment had to match the car. Not a practical apartment, an apartment in the right neighborhood, with the right address, with the right aesthetic for the right photographs. Then the wardrobe had to match the apartment. Then the restaurants had to match the wardrobe. Then the vacations had to match the restaurants. And suddenly, not all at once, but piece by piece, decision by decision, Marcus had constructed a life that required his full salary just to maintain. Not to build, not to grow, just to maintain. He had built a beautiful, expensive machine for standing still. Here is what nobody tells you about lifestyle inflation. It is self-concealing, because each individual upgrade feels like progress. The nicer apartment feels like you are finally living the life you deserve. The designer clothing feels like self-respect. The business class upgrade feels like you are taking care of yourself. Each decision, evaluated in isolation, feels like a reasonable reward for hard work. But there is a hidden transaction happening beneath every one of these decisions that never appears on any receipt. You are not buying things. You are buying obligations. You are purchasing future servitude. Every lifestyle upgrade is a new anchor attached to your feet, and the ocean floor of your 40s is getting closer every single year, whether you look down or not. I want you to understand the mathematics of what is actually happening. At 25, if Marcus invested $500 a month, just $500, into a diversified index fund earning an average annual return of 10%, by 65 he would have approximately $2,600,000. He doesn't need to be brilliant. He doesn't need to be lucky. He doesn't need a startup or a cryptocurrency or a secret. He needs $500 a month and the discipline not to touch it for 40 years. But Marcus's car payment is $640 a month. His upgraded apartment costs him an additional $400 above what he could have paid. His wardrobe, his dinners, his subscriptions, another $300 to $400 minimum. He is spending on performances of wealth roughly $1,500 a month that could have been building actual wealth. By 65, that $1,500 per month, compounded over 40 years, is not a small number. It is approximately $7,800,000, not in the account. Gone, permanently, irreversibly. That money doesn't exist in any timeline anymore. It was traded, and this is the part that should stop you cold. It was traded for the approval of people who statistically were not watching, were not impressed, were not changed, were scrolling. Marcus built a gravity well with his own hands and then moved into it. The deeper he went, the harder it became to imagine climbing out. Because lifestyle gravity doesn't just take your money, it takes your imagination. After enough years inside the well, you stop being able to picture a different life. The expensive life becomes the baseline becomes the minimum becomes the identity, and the identity becomes the prison that you will defend furiously, emotionally, against anyone who suggests you might be in one. This is the cruelest part. The prison has no visible walls. The door is always open. The chains are made entirely of choices. I want to tell you about someone else I watched. I'll call her Elena. Elena was 24, same generation as Marcus, same cultural pressure, same algorithmic feed showing her the same curated performances of wealth and leisure and arrival that Marcus was consuming. Same dopamine triggers, same social battlefield. Elena felt all of it. She was not immune. She was not some mythological creature born without ego or desire. She wanted the apartment. She wanted the trips. She felt the pull of approval exactly the same way Marcus did. But Elena had read something once that she couldn't unread. She had read about compound interest, not as an abstract concept, as a physical reality operating on her life right now, in real time, with or without her participation. She had understood, at a deep, visceral, almost frightening level. That time was not neutral. That 24-year-old Elena was not financially equivalent to 34-year-old Elena. That every dollar she deployed at 24 was operating in a fundamentally different time environment than any dollar she would deploy a decade later. Einstein's theory of relativity tells us that time moves differently depending on your position relative to a massive object. The closer you are to a gravitational field, the slower time moves for you relative to someone further away. In financial terms, your 20s are the furthest point from the gravitational field of diminishing returns. Time moves fastest for your money when you are young. Every year you wait, you move closer to the gravity well. The clock doesn't slow, but the leverage does. A dollar invested at 24 and a dollar invested at 34 are not the same dollar. They never were. They never will be. The 24-year-old dollar has 10 more years of compounding. At 10% average annual returns, those 10 extra years don't add 10%. They add, through the mathematics of exponential growth, approximately 2.59 times the final value. Elena understood this. So Elena drove a 7-year-old car that started every morning and got her where she needed to go. She lived in an apartment that was comfortable but not curated. She wore clothes that were clean and appropriate but not branded. She cooked most of her meals. She said no to things, sometimes with difficulty, sometimes with ache, because she had learned to feel the future cost of present pleasures. She was not cheap. She was not miserable. She was not depriving herself of life. She was investing quietly $600 a month, every month, without drama, without announcement, without a single Instagram post. By 35, Elena had approximately $120,000 accumulating silently in the market. Marcus had approximately $12,000 in a savings account and a car worth less than the loan remaining on it. This gap, $108,000 in just 11 years, was not primarily a gap in income. It was not primarily a gap in intelligence. It was not luck. It was a gap in the understanding of time. Here is what nobody tells you about your 20s. They are not a rehearsal. They are not the period before your real life starts. They are not the time to live a little before you get serious. That is a story told by industries that profit from your spending. That is a narrative constructed and distributed by every brand that needs you to believe that consumption is identity, that the good life is purchased rather than built. Your 20s are the highest leverage decade of your financial life. Full stop. No asterisk, no exception. Every year you spend them performing instead of building costs you not 1 year. It costs you the compounding of that year across the entire remaining arc of your life. A single year of delayed investing at 25 does not cost you 1 year of returns. It costs you, at the end of a 40-year journey, approximately 6 to 7 years of returns at the back end, when the numbers are largest. You are not late when you are 25 and haven't started. But the clock is running. It has always been running. It will not pause for the lease payment. It will not pause for the approval of strangers. It will not pause for the performance. Time out here in space is the only thing I am absolutely certain of. It moves. It compounds. It does not negotiate. There is a specific silence that exists between stars. Not the silence of an empty room, not the silence of a library. A deeper silence. The silence of a distance so vast that no sound could ever cross it. The silence of time measured not in years, but in light years, in eons. In the slow, cold arithmetic of entropy. I have learned to sit in that silence, and in it I hear something I didn't expect. I hear the silence of people on Earth who have arrived at their 40s and realized, for the first time with full clarity, that the trajectory they set in their 20s has now fully revealed its destination. This is the void I want to talk about now, not outer space. The inner space of a 43-year-old human being standing in a kitchen on a Tuesday morning, coffee in hand, calculating for the first time what their retirement account actually contains. What it will contain at 65. What life will actually look like if the number doesn't change dramatically. Marcus is now 41. His car is long gone, replaced twice. Each replacement a fresh loan. Each loan a fresh anchor. He has a mortgage on a house that is slightly too large, in a neighborhood slightly above his means, because that is what people like him do. His income has grown, his lifestyle has grown faster. He is not in debt in a dramatic way. He is not behind on payments. From the outside, Marcus looks fine. Marcus looks, in fact, successful. The house is real. The car in the driveway is new. The vacations are documented and beautiful. But Marcus, standing in his kitchen on that Tuesday morning, has just done the calculation. He has done the calculation for the first time with complete honesty. His retirement account contains $87,000. He is 41. He needs, by the most conservative estimates, assuming modest spending and no medical catastrophe, approximately $1.2 million to retire at 65 without dramatically reducing his current lifestyle. He has 24 years. He needs to grow $87,000 into $1.2 million in 24 years. Without making additional contributions, that would require an annual return of approximately 11.4% consistently. For 24 years, that is possible. That is not guaranteed. But Marcus cannot stop making contributions because his lifestyle requires his full salary to maintain. He has no slack in the system. He has built a machine that consumes everything it generates. He contributes $400 a month, the maximum his budget currently allows. At 10% annual returns, $400 a month plus his existing $87,000 over 24 years becomes approximately $1.1 million. He will almost make it if the market cooperates, if he doesn't touch it, if his lifestyle doesn't inflate further, if nothing goes wrong. He will almost have enough to live a compressed, careful version of the life he has already been living. This is the void, not failure, almost enough. A lifetime of almost enough, purchased with a lifetime of performance. A retirement spent in the permanent arithmetic of sufficiency. Not scarcity, but never, not once, the deep financial stillness of someone who built correctly and has nothing to prove and nowhere to be and every option available. Elena is 41 as well. Elena's portfolio contains, after consistent contributions and compound growth, approximately $1,400,000. She is not done contributing. She has 24 years remaining. By 65, Elena's financial trajectory, even with reduced contributions as life gets more complex, points toward $4 to $5 million. Real wealth. The kind that purchases not just retirement, but options. The kind that changes not just her life, but potentially the lives that come after her. The kind that transforms a family's entire relationship with money across generations. Same starting line, same generation, same cultural environment, different understanding of time. Here is what nobody tells you about the void. You cannot see it coming. That is the precise, specific, devastating genius of lifestyle gravity. It doesn't announce itself. There is no moment where a voice from above says, "You are now entering the zone of irreversible trajectory." There is no alarm. There is no border crossing. There is only the Tuesday morning. The kitchen, the coffee, the calculator, the number, and by the time you can see it clearly, you are already inside it. The 40s are not the end. I want to be precise about this. The 40s are the last decade where compounding leverage still meaningfully works. The last decade where aggressive, disciplined reorientation can still fundamentally change the destination. But the 40s are not the 20s. The runway is shorter. The math is harder. The lifestyle is heavier. The inertia is enormous. This is why I watch from here with something I can only describe as grief. Not for Marcus specifically, for the pattern. For the millions of Marcuses, all simultaneously, all making the same beautiful, reasonable, catastrophic sequence of decisions, all in different cities, all surrounded by the same algorithm, all performing for the same invisible audience, all drifting, slowly, into the same gravitational field, all building the same void, escape velocity. In physics, it is the minimum speed required for an object to escape a gravitational field without any additional propulsion. On Earth, that speed is approximately 11.2 kilometers per second. You cannot escape gravity slowly. You cannot negotiate with it. You cannot charm it or perform for it or convince it to make an exception. You have to reach escape velocity or you do not escape. There is no middle outcome. Financial escape velocity works the same way.